We have a talent skills gap. We can't find enough tech talent. We can't find women in technology. We can't increase the diversity within our tech teams. We can't find mid to senior level tech talent. These are statements that I hear very often from tech businesses that are looking to scale successfully by attracting, recruiting, and retaining the best tech talent there is. But what if I said there was a different way? Hi, I'm Becky. I am co-founder and CEO of an organisation called Tech Returners. My background is for the past 18 years I've been involved in people, HR and talent. I've been involved in the tech sector for the past 15 years, scaling high growth tech businesses through the value of people. My last position before I set up Tech Returners was I was a head of HR for a leading SaaS-based business in Manchester. At the time, I sat on a leadership team of 14 and I was the only woman around that table. And then 7 years ago, I fell pregnant with Ethan, who you can see on the screen. That was my first experience of transitioning out and then back into such a high, fast-paced industry. Even though I was only out for a short period of time on maternity leave, things change so quickly in the tech industry that skills become outdated very quickly. And all the networking opportunities tended to be in the evening. So having a young family, I wasn't able to go. Therefore, I was losing my network. And both of these combined together really impacted in terms of my confidence. And it wasn't until I returned that I realised this. So when I did successfully return, I felt that not only was I a minority as a woman in tech, I was a minority as being a parent in tech. So I wanted to do something about it. So 4 years ago, I successfully co-founded Women Tech North, which is a community meetup group found on meetup.com. And over those 4 years, we've organically grown to be the third largest women in tech community globally. And it was through the work within the community, it became more and more apparent the lack of support and opportunities for people to re-enter the technology after a career break. There was fantastic work being done on the younger generation, educating girls around the opportunities in technology at school and college level. But what we were seeing with the statistics is that we weren't retaining our talent. Therefore, if we were creating talent pipeline and not retaining that talent, will create a leaky bucket effect. So in 2017, James and I, James is my co-founder from a technology background, we wanted to see whether there was an opportunity of putting in a model to reskill people that have had technology experience previously and reskill for them to transition back into technology. So in 2017, we did 2 trial cohorts, basically gave up some of our consultancy time for free to see and put out social media posts and provide training opportunities for people looking to re-enter tech after a career break. We didn't know whether there was a demand out there, but there certainly was. The first cohort was 100% female and the second cohort was 90% female. And they successfully completed our program and now in successful careers in technology. One of them being actually now gone full cycle and actually is one of our tech coaches here at Tech Returners. So we knew we were onto something, but we wanted to scale and bring about a commercial model. So we wanted to stay true to what we believed around accessibility, something I'm extremely passionate about. So we provide all our upskilling opportunities for free, and also provide the reskilling flexibly. So that's either in the evenings or at weekends to enable people still with those parenting commitments, caring commitments to able to reskill while that period of time enabled them to successfully transition into careers in technology. So originating in Manchester, we form partnerships up with companies such as the BBC, Booking.com, Lloyds Bank, Infinity Works, NCC Group, Manchester Airport, to name but a few. And we've successfully run a number of programs over the past 3 years. Towards the end of 2019, we then transitioned as our first programme in London, which I'll touch upon later. And now we have relaunched our programmes, Your Return to Tech, this week actually, with our first 16 that have started with us. So since 2017, we have enabled 55 careers in technology. And we're proud to say that 49 of them are women. So there are 49 now more women in technology than we started in 2017. But most importantly, we're not stopping there. But why? Because we know that the challenge still exists. Last year, we teamed up with the Alliance Business School at Manchester University, and we conducted our own research to understand the returner market more specifically around women returners. And the companies that we surveyed, 83% of them stated that finding tech talent is the line barrier for them actually growing. Alongside that, you look at the statistic around the gender pay gap, it stands at 18.6%, and it's not shifted over the past couple of years. And 97% of employers admit their tech roles lack diversity. Looking at your organisation, what statistic does what we show now resonate with yourselves? But we know from the research that we did, just in the Northwest alone, there's 233,000 vacancies with unmet talent needs. And when we look wider into Greater London, we know that figure is in excess of 800,000. So there's a huge amount of vacancies that need to be filled with tech talent. Looking at gender specifically, we know from our research that 41% is a turnover rate for women leaving the tech industry versus 17% for men. We know from other research that there's only 5% of senior women in technology in the UK. And 56% of women leave the tech industry at mid-level career, which goes to show us why we have such a huge gender pay gap, as I mentioned before. So more importantly, what can we do? And more importantly, what can you do? And how do we do that? So there's 3 areas that I focus on. So the first one being accessibility. From the research, we know that 60% of women returning tech cited work-life balance as the biggest barrier. And this is something that I've been massively passionate about over the years. Flexibility isn't a benefit. It should be the norm, even more so now as we've approached out of lockdown. But flexibility means different things to different people. Whereas I might want flexibility to do the school run every day, some people might see flexibility as working 3 days a week with condensed hours. Some people might see flexibility as working shorter days. As my point is, everybody is different, so there's no one policy fits all. So we need to provide that flexibility to people. And need to focus on outcomes. For a long time, we've talked about outputs, but anybody can produce a lot more output, but what do outcomes have? What is the actual impact that that person is having over that day, over that week, over that quarter, etc.? And that's what we need to focus on, the outcome. And we need to afford and trust people to be themselves, even more so in the current climate, where people have had to be recently juggling childcare responsibilities, or, for their own mental health, need to have those regular breaks because we're all working from home. We need to trust people that if they needed to take some time off in the day because they weren't in the right mindset, or they needed to look after children, that they're still producing those outcomes to be effective within organisations. And the amount of companies that I've spoken to over the past months where they had an idea that working from home would not work for that organisation, that now gone the whole 360 and actually now promoting working from home rather than going into the office. What I say about that is around being accessible for everyone. So that means some people might still want to work at home, and some people might want to balance that with going to the office. But communication is key on that. Talk to your staff because they will tell you what they want. By doing all of these things in terms of flexibility, working on outcomes and trust, you'll start to create more inclusive environments that people can thrive in. Many a time I've heard from women and men who are parents that have had to leave for the school run and walk through the office, and a load of people look up at the watch and almost without saying those words around sort of creating that culture of almost like, well, where are you going at that time? And even when I talk to maternity returners, and then they maybe come back a few days a week rather than full time to transition, they talk to me about not feeling part of the team. But we need to create those environments that people are able to feel inclusive and belong. A big sort of lovely statement I talked about is diversity, inclusion and belonging. So diversity, being asked to the party, inclusion, being asked to dance, and belonging, dancing like nobody's watching. Please remember that. But what does accessibility mean to us? We know accessibility works. So we talk about there's a lack of women in tech, but there isn't. There's loads of women wanting to return to the technology area and technology sector. And this is just one statistic. So when we did the programme with the BBC in London at the end of 2019, we were offering 16 places for women to reskill in the programme. In 2 weeks alone, we had 23,000 applications. That's 23,000 women looking to come back to the technology sector. So there's women out there that are looking to return. So we just need to create those accessible routes for them to do so. The second area is looking past the gap. So going back to our research, 47% of businesses treat a career gap less favourably. We know that from the returners that we speak to, that many of them don't go down the traditional recruitment routes of looking for job opportunities or working with agencies because they've had such a bad experience. I've even heard horror stories where companies don't even, if they have a career gap, they just get thrown away the CVs straight away. They don't even look at them. Don't even look at that value that person can provide. And one of our returners was returning after a 2-year career gap and had a £10,000 pay reduction for having a 2-year gap, but they didn't see in terms of what that person had done within that 2-year gap. 43% of women gained a reduced position when they returned, and just under 5k is the average salary drop when women return back to the workplace, in the technology workplace. It's horrifying. You know, think about all that value that they have to provide, not just from the experience, the technology experience, but the real skills, which I'll talk about in a minute. And all that combined of what they value can then add on to any organisation going forward. Because I truly believe you're missing out on that talent if you don't look past that gap. So this week, as I said, we just started one of our new programs in London. And yes, our returners do have gaps on their CV. But like I said, more importantly, what have they done with those gaps? So we've had things such as community work within the technology sector, volunteering, which gains huge amounts of transferable skills, continuous learning new technology language, machine learning, and also personal projects, whether they've worked on their own like personal websites or they've done websites for friends and family. These are all gaining valuable skills that are very, very beneficial to any tech team in an organisation. And finally, real skills. When we speak to businesses about what they're looking for tech talent, they talk to us about motivation, drive, constant learning, communication and problem solving, to name but a few real skills. And these are all skills that people have acquired through previous experiences and careers in technology, but also while they've been on a career gap. So I know as a parent, and I've had career gaps, that to get 2 young children out the door at 9 o'clock, before 9 o'clock, should I say, I go through mediation, negotiation to get them out the door, problem solving around how am I going to juggle meetings as well as picking them up. And now we've got time management coming into that because we've got allotted slots to do pickups and drop-offs. constant learning. So when the projects come home around arts and crafts or creating something, I'm constantly learning how to do that, especially over lockdown and being having to step into the role of a teacher and learning how to actually do multiplication again. It's definitely been a constant learning journey for me. And communication. I truly believe from a returner's perspective that during the pandemic, and unfortunately the people that maybe have been furloughed and been redundant, they might now have more empathy around returners looking to return. Because people just don't stand still. They are continually gaining valuable skills that then they can learn and transfer once they are successfully enrolled. So if you looked at investing in returner talent, what could it mean to your business? Well, like I said, if you've got huge amounts of vacancies, your business is not going to grow. Those are gaps where you're learning, where you're losing revenue because that person is not being productive in that role because there isn't anyone there. So by investing in returner talent, you can have business growth. You could have increased diversity. 86% of our cohorts are female. Our last cohort, 80% was BAME, but more importantly, that diversity of thought, people bringing different perspectives of their experience. This all equates to economic growth. We know in Manchester alone, when we did our research, that there's just short of 4,000 women looking to return to the technology industry. And if we supported those, that would mean a £260 million additional income to the revenue year on year, which is huge. And of course, in time, it will reduce the skills gap and we won't have those huge amounts of vacancies, which I mentioned. But most importantly, we are changing people's lives. People who didn't think there were opportunities to come back into the technology sector. People that were having their skills wasted by not utilising them into tech businesses. And I'm going to talk a bit about what it actually means to them. So Helen had a successful career in SaaS before having a career break to raise her children. She came onto one of our programs to reskill and now transitioned as a software developer for InfinityWorks. And in a short period of time is now leading a digital project for the NHS. Genevieve was an established web developer before again having a career break to raise her children. She again now is working as a software developer for InfinityWorks. And the feedback that we're getting in terms of not only from InfinityWorks, but InfinityWorks clients is absolutely amazing. Preeti has a very solid technical background. She's even produced and run some of her own startups about producing projects and products. Over COVID, she'd even produced an app which she went on for crowdfunding for. And now she's transitioned to a developer in Auto Trader. And also Katie. So Katie was a developer for Capgemini for 16 years, then had a career break and didn't feel that it was possible to return back to the technology industry. So then retrained as a teacher, teaching tech, but really missed the whole process and the whole experience of being a developer. Came through on one of our courses and now started and reignited her career in technology. So these are lives that people are changing, you know, by accepting returners to transition back into their organisations. I really hope that's given you a bit of food for thought around a different talent pool that you could access to help you recruit in terms of attracting, recruiting and retaining the best tech talent for your organisation.